Hello, welcome to the Choralosophy Podcast, episode 41. I'm Chris Muntz, I'm your host, and this is The Kids Are Not Okay, Class of 2020 edition. The Choralosophy First. This is an attempt that I made to have a front porch conversation, an outdoor conversation, of course, for safety, and wanting to gather a group of more than just one-on-one conversation. That's also a first. There's a total of 4 of us involved in this conversation. And so, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to invite members of my recently graduated choral program, so the class of 2020. And I wanted to talk to them and have them talk to you and them get a chance to vent their story about what life in lockdown was like. So for selfish reasons, I also just wanted to hear from them. But my thought was, I fully recognize that this could come across as a giant insider conversation because we all know each other. But here's my instinct. My instinct is that many of you have singers that could be these kids, right? This conversation could have occurred with you and your students as well, and many of the themes would be the same. What are the types of things that a teenager experiences with looking at their whole future in front of them and having so many question marks now placed upon everything that they do for the rest of their life, knowing that you go into the beginning of your senior year and you feel like you've got some ducks in a row. You feel like you've got some predictable things up ahead of you. And we realize that as adults, we look back on that time and we remember that being a senior in high school is already so full of question marks. Even if as soon as you know what college you're going to, you at least feel like you've answered some of those huge question marks, but there's still so much. What am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do for a job? When am I going to meet my soulmate? All these different types of things that we have as questions in our mind at that time. And I started to imagine what it must be like to live through that time period in 2020. So I invited some students from my recently graduated group, featuring Eghosa Ogbevoen, who is on her way to head to Mizzou, University of Missouri, Avery Beavers, who is on her way to Pepperdine University, and Zaria Jackson, who's on her way to the Missouri State University. So this episode is an experiment for sure. I began to feel like much of our conversations on the Choralosophy podcast recently had been a little too informational and not enough relational, and also teacher focused, which I understand that my audience are mostly teachers, but I wanted to change things up a little bit. And so I became very interested in hearing from some of these kids on what it was like to be them during this time. And so we discussed their feelings about losing choir. Of course, this is mostly a choir show, but we also discussed the other realities of life for the class of 2020, being a teenager and being isolated. What was it like to force all of your conversations, even more than they already were, into an online forum? What was that like during the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement and the ensuing protests, and you're stuck online? That for some of them was quite traumatic. So we talk about that and just lots more stuff. And it was a wonderful conversation. It was great to see these girls and to hang out on my porch. But keeping in mind that the recording the episode outdoors does create some audio quality problems. So I apologize going forward into the episode. We did the best we could. I tried to have a microphone that was collecting our information. I probably at some point, as the Patreon page for the show grows, and as we get some more revenue coming in, I might be able to get some new equipment to do a better outdoor recording, the kind where you actually clip mics on everybody's clothes, but I don't have that gear yet. So the audio quality turned out okay, unless it happened to be that my AC unit was running. So you'll hear there are times when the background noise gets quite a bit more, and then some of the times where it's great. So you'll be able to hear everything though. But of course, it's a group conversation. So there are some times when we all just are kind of shouting out our ideas. But I think that you will find this interesting just to hear from the teenager perspective and the perspective of the class of 2020 who essentially watched their senior year evaporate before their eyes. And so I'm really excited to release this episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And speaking of Patreon, the group that really keeps the lights on and the revenue to pay for the hosting and all of the advertisements on Facebook and all the things that are recurring costs of the show are essentially underwritten by people who appreciate the content of the Choralosophy podcast on Patreon. patreon.com/Choralosophy, you can join that group for as little as $3 a month. The show is produced there by David Kowalczyk, James Mock, Kyle Peterson, Michael Herron, Ryan Main, and Steve and Kathy Kukacik. Thanks a lot to all the Patreon members, and feel free to jump on over there and support the show anytime you feel led to do so. Before we get to the conversation on the porch with the ladies, just want to make sure that we get a shout out to the sponsors of this show. MyMusicFolders.com is currently selling the Resonance Singer's Mask, which is doing great and just getting rave reviews from the people who have gotten a chance to play with it. And of course, I'm recording this mid-August episode right now. The shipment, the first big batch of masks are shipping out now. They've got another one coming really soon behind it. So they're trying to keep up with the demand for this amazing product, which has just some great implications for our ability to sing together for the next year. Then, of course, there's SightReadingFactory.com. You've got to get yourself signed up for Sight Reading Factory and all of your students. And there is a Choralosophy checkout code that you can use at Sight Reading Factory, as well as MyMusicFolders.com. All of these sponsors, you can plug in that word Choralosophy at checkout and get a coupon discount code, which you can use every time you go to those websites. You're going to need to be getting some sheet music soon. We have RyanMain.com, who sells some awesome music, especially for those middle school and high school age singers who need something really meaty but accessible. Ryan is like a superhero for creating just that type of music. He's, of course, more versatile than that as well, but I always find that if I need something that kids can learn quickly, but also feel like they're not bored with it a month from now, Ryan Main is one of my go-tos. So RyanMain.com. Then there's also GraphitePublishing.com. And Graphite has a large number of composers, and it's growing and growing every day. They also have a really cool search engine on their site where you can really nitpick and get into the nitty-gritty of what type of music you're looking for, from composers like Tim Takash, Eric Barnum, Jocelyn Hagen, Joshua Shank, just lots and lots of composers there also that are just excellent and a great resource if you need the music right now. So any of those sites, you can go and use Choralosophy at checkout to get a coupon code and get a discount, save yourself some budget, and also is a great way to help the show. So with no further ado, I will take you outside to the porch of my house with Eghosa, Avery, and Zaria talking about life in lockdown.
Okay, hey, hi, friends, former students that are now adults. Welcome to my porch. So what I'd like to do first is just have everybody go around and introduce themselves. So since you are all, I checked 2 seconds before we started recording, they're all 18, which means they can just introduce themselves with their actual names.
Yeah.
Who wants to start?
I'll go.
Okay, go.
I'm Eghosa, Ogbevoen. Yeah.
And they're all class of 2020. Why don't you also tell everybody what your plan is for next year, just if no more apocalypses happen.
I'm going to be starting on campus at Mizzou. I'm not sure what I'm going to major in yet, but whatever it is, I'm sure I'll love it.
Cool.
I'm Zaria. I'm going to Missouri State University to major in vocal music education.
Awesome.
My name is Avery Beavers, and I will be virtually going to Pepperdine this year for, at least the first semester, it says for now, for vocal performance.
But doing it from your home.
Yes,
so
virtually.
You're not going on campus to do virtual
No,
class.
campus is closed.
Got it.
No, agreed.
That's frustrating. Okay, so the first thing I want us to chat about is just what, since you guys are sitting on this precipice of the rest of your life now, where you were a high school student, high school exploded, and now you're getting ready to be college kids. So let's go back to spring break. Coronavirus outbreak is happening. We're all getting ready to go home, and you find out we're not coming back to school. What was that like?
I'll go first.
For me, I think I started talking about it in my English class. So I was 4th hour before concert choir, and everybody was like freaking out and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to come back. And then, anyways, and then I was like, okay, you know what, it's going to be fine. Get it all figured out. The cases aren't rising like that much. And then next day, this was a Thursday that this we first happened, and the Friday before spring break, it was like, oh yeah, like 200 more cases, probably gonna close, and it's like, cool. It's okay, we'll have spring break, we'll be back. And then we weren't, so I was like, I don't know, it was weird. I was kind of trying to be hopeful about it, but also freaking out at the same time. I don't know, it was
I feel like
a lot
it's
of
just
mixed emotions.
really weird to think back to that time and think, like, we were there for when it was, like, the joke, kind of like the whole, like, World War III thing happening on Twitter and all the socials, and so we got to see that part, and then when we heard that we might not come back, we were like, yay, 2 weeks break, and I can't tell you how many times I was like, I need this. This is going to be great. I'm going to get my life together because I'm falling apart. And at the time, like, I was sick, so I was super excited to be like, oh, I'm going to have time and I'm not going to have to miss school. And then those 2 weeks went by, and it was so difficult to wrap my mind around the fact that I might not ever get the rest of my senior year, you know? Like, in my head, it was like, all of the things I had looked up to, and I didn't realize, even when they said, well, this is postponed, you know, graduation's postponed, these things have been canceled, I'm like, but they're not really canceled.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
have
that
something.
We'll reschedule.
And then we didn't,
Yeah.
and it was just,
it hurt.
it was just so insanely anticlimactic that I remember just sitting there and being like, well, that was nice.
No, well,
I
know.
I graduated.
That was a
Yeah,
good run.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like what I hadn't thought of it either since in so long that remembering the jokes
The
about
jokes
coronavirus.
stage,
Like when it was still funny to say Corona time.
Yeah, exactly.
And like everybody,
like,
nobody
oh,
really
and with
understood.
Lyme disease, you know, like
Yeah.
it's always
Right.
like there's those jokes going
And
around.
they are idiots.
And then, you know, yeah, we got to this moment and we're like, oh, never mind,
yeah.
not as funny as we thought. That did
Yeah.
not age well.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah. So then we get we go a few more weeks. We've got spring break is now going to be a week longer, but then that turns into
April 27th.
another date that they put forward. We'll go back later in April, and then that starts to go away. Also, was there? Do you guys remember any like moments where it kind of finally sunk into you that your senior year was over?
My birthday, 100%.
Tell that story.
Because the thing I love most about having my birthday in the school year, and I usually always have my birthday in the middle of the week. So, like, my birthday's never on the weekend. So my favorite thing about it was going to school and being around my class. You know, it's just, it's way more special.
Really
So I remember waking up and I was like, I don't get to have that today.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and I'm not gonna get to have that with my class anymore. Like, I'm not gonna get to just be around these people. It was, I knew that we weren't going back, but it didn't hit me until my birthday that I realized like how much just like being around them influenced my mood and me, how I acted or me as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think when we got the email that was like, nobody's coming back, you know, like that's, like even that day, my mom was like, so how are you feeling? And I was like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had been saying with everything going on. They're like, how are you feeling about your senior year? How are you feeling, blah, 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 you know, because we're all confused. Nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting down, like, that night, and I went through, like, all of my yearbooks, and I went through, like, everything, and I just sat down and I sobbed.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what a terrible way to end all of these years of schooling with the people that, you know, cared about me, my peers, and I didn't ever get to see them again. Well, maybe not, you know. It was just, that's really when it sunk in, when we got that email, and I was like, well, guess that's it.
Yeah, I think for me, I think my mom told me about the email at first, and I was like, okay, cool, like, whatever, online classes, I'll be fine. And then like you said, at night, I sat down, and I really started thinking about it, and I got on, like, Instagram, Snapchat, talked to all my friends. I was like, I'm really not going to be able to, like, see these people, even the people I didn't even like. Like, I'm not going to be able to see these people for, like, who knows how long. Because at this point, graduation was still going to happen. It was just, like, postponed.
Yeah.
And, like, I was like, okay, I'll see them then. But, like, it still sucks. And I remember I went through my camera roll and was looking at, like, videos and like, pictures from years past.
Yes.
And I was just like, these are the people that I really grew up with. And it just all got taken away from us like that. And it was, I don't know, it was crazy because I didn't even think about it. It was just all of a sudden, it's like, it's gone.
Especially because the end of the year is like when you get all
the
you
things.
really
All of
celebrate
your
the
things.
seniors. Like it's a senior
Your
celebration,
banquets,
like
your
all of May.
everything.
Yeah.
I was really upset about not having coffee or visitation too.
Me
Oh
too.
my gosh,
Yes.
yes.
Visitation made me so sad.
And then even just saying goodbye to like teachers too. Like I knew I would see you again, so it's like that was cool. But like some of the other teachers I'm close with, I was like, I'm really not going to see these people again. And then
it's not like you can just call them up like
Yeah,
buddies, you know,
yeah.
like you don't
Yeah.
have
exactly.
a real way to contact
And then it's like
them.
realizing like you won't be like a part of these like programs
Mhm.
anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially things like you've dedicated so much time to. Like I remember I visited marching bands for a rookie camp because graduated seniors bring back popsicles.
Yeah.
And it was just the strangest thing sitting there like on the sidelines and watching them and being like, I'm no longer a part of that.
Yeah, well, and
But I invested 4 years of my life.
and it's
in
not
this.
even
so
just the
weird.
fact that you're no longer a part of it, it's the fact that you're no longer a part of it and didn't have a proper conclusion.
yeah,
You didn't have
yeah.
any ending to that. It was just like, and we're going to leave you right here in the middle of this run-on sentence, and we're not going to show you how it ends. So, you know, it's like ending just like, you're like, what? What just happened?
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting preparing for a different episode of a podcast where I was asked to provide a recording of a choir from recently for this, and I went through the OSUSD recording from last year, and that was the first time I'd really, because for me the emotional roller coaster of all of the time you guys just discussed essentially went from very similar to how you guys just described it. It was like a joke at first / long spring break.
Yeah.
And we were in Key West, so we were just like, we'll stay longer.
Right, we'll stay
Yeah.
longer.
And
Right.
it was awesome, and it was an adventure. And
That was with
Yeah.
us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we got out real quick, and then we came back, and it was just, what is going on?
yeah, and then that kind of followed a roller coaster too, of where there was a period of probably mid-April through most of May where it was very much denial for me that I wouldn't get to do
Me
any of
too.
those concerts
Yeah.
with you guys. And so I hadn't listened to any, like I deliberately kind of avoided any listening to choir stuff from the
I
school.
did not.
And then I
That's smart.
and then I had that OSUSD came up, and I shed tears.
Yeah.
Like I just hearing you guys do that again and knowing we didn't get a chance to do that.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
Visitation has always been the thing that like ends it. Like
exactly.
ends
Always.
not only that specific choir season, but like just school year over.
Yeah.
Okay, done. And there just was no ending. You know.
And for the uninitiated that are listening to us right now, the visitation concert is our chamber choir end of the year concert off campus at a beautiful church.
Concert.
The
Literally.
concert, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, and
That
of
would
course
hurt.
that would have been like the Monday after graduation or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the culmination of the school year for the choir kids. What about, and of course, feel free to get as real as you are comfortable getting, emotional low points
Ooh.
and what that was like and
well,
what triggered them.
Okay, well, like, I don't know like specifically the times, but for me, it was always like the middle of the night. Me thinking back to like all the years past, especially like with choir, and again just watching videos, and especially from visitation, like in past years, or like even from like solo and like district contests and all that. It's like didn't get that either. That just kind of sucked, and then. I don't know. It was horrible. I just like cried like every night for the, like, 3 days.
I cry a lot,
Yes.
even during regular school time.
Yeah.
So, and I'm used to being emotionally and just like exhausted generally. And so the fact that I had all of this time to myself, I was like, "Ooh, I can use this to
Me
better
too.
myself. I can use this to whatever." And
It made it so
it
much
didn't
worse.
work. Every time that I was like, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna make sure that I plan out my schedule. I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna get this done. Like I'm one of those people that I feed off of not only attention, but also just
Other
some
people's
kind of
energy.
contact with
Yes.
other people.
Yeah.
Like I'm very much an extrovert, and I didn't have any of those people. And I didn't have social media through most of it either, so I wasn't really talking to other people, and I feel like I closed myself off from not only people that did try to get in contact with me, but like my family. I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't, because I was so used to having my own space away from them, that when I was, fully plunged back into it where I could be with them 24/7, it annoyed me. I would get aggravated so quickly with them, which they didn't deserve, obviously, but it's so difficult to try to force yourself to feel comfortable when you haven't been in that setting for such a long time. Think about the last time that you have been with your family that much. It's before preschool,
like elementary,
like when you were little and your parents stayed home with you and were watching you all the time. There has never been a time since that in my life where I have been with them every single day at like every moment. You can't go anywhere, and I actually got COVID and I was tested.
Oh, really?
Congratulations.
Thank you. but my family didn't. So I was quarantined in my room by myself for 14 days, which was terrible. I was miserable the entire time because, they're passing food, like they'll leave it outside my door and then would run away and I would have to just like grab it and get in my room. But it was awful. I felt terrible that I didn't know how to express that to my family, that like I wasn't comfortable, I wasn't happy, I was at a very, very low point, and I had never dealt with anything like that. I mean, I've had other problems, of course, but I've never dealt with like depression or anything like that, but I've seen people close to me go through it, and so I think this was the first time that I'd ever felt close to any kind of situation like that.
Well, I can tell you the parents, it's not easy for the parents to have the kids home all the time.
No, I know.
That's just the tea.
Yeah, my mom was so done with me and my sister. I don't know. Since high school, I guess, like you said, you're not in like the setting with your family like 24/7. Like we wouldn't even have dinner together. I would go maybe 2 days on end without seeing any of my family because of extracurriculars and everything.
We busy.
We were busy. Like all of a sudden you're just back in there. I think like at first I would just like lock myself in my room because like that's what I do when I get home. I just stay in my room. When I started coming out and like interacting with all of them, and then I would get so annoyed that, like I said, I would just put myself back in there. I wish I hadn't done that because like now I'm leaving, not gonna have them there either. It was like wish I made up for that like lost time.
Absolutely.
But, like
Any low point stories?
My low points weren't caused by COVID itself, but a lot of crazy stuff was happening in the world during quarantine.
That's big facts.
Okay,
It was
tell us about
contributed
that.
to a lot of that. Well, mainly when the riots first started in, where was it, Minneapolis?
Yes.
A lot of people that I knew were just showing their true colors, and it was really saddening. It was really saddening. So if I was crying at night, it wasn't because of COVID, but it was because like I knew that a lot of people that I considered to be close friends to me turned out to completely be the opposite of who I thought they were. It really hurt to see people denounce something that's such like an integral part of who I am. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it was just, that was definitely, those, maybe like a week was like the most emotionally exhausted I've been in so long. And I couldn't really put it into words. And you couldn't get away from it. Exactly. Like, I had to literally turn off my phone. Like, I literally would have to
I deleted all of my social media when that
I was
happened.
like, I can't. Literally. I would have to turn off my phone. I literally started hiking, like, just to, like, go and just, like, and recenter my mind.
But the thing with that, too, like, everybody's just like, you can't ignore it, you can't ignore it. So it's like, with...
But
like,
dealing with it every
single day
is
so exhausting.
Yeah, you have to take care of yourself.
We went.
Although I would say, I would say that is related to COVID and the lockdowns.
Honestly,
In the sense that, like, a lot of that stuff, you could make the argument that it wouldn't have happened
without No, I definitely agree.
Like, the video, like, from our school, those 3 girls, that would not have
never would have surfaced.
the riots, those probably still wouldn't have happened, but the amount of attention that it got on social media,
On social
and
Because
media,
everyone's
it was
sitting
horrible.
there.
Right.
like they had nothing else to do.
Absolutely. We're
Yeah,
just
like
constantly
all kinds of
scrolling,
people were
Yes,
coming
absolutely.
out of the woodwork with
Oh.
all these nasty things
Absolutely.
to say, and it was just like,
Yes, 100%.
it was. I was like, I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, quarantine really has you guys acting like that.
And
Like, really,
It's so irritating because we were sitting there with nothing else to do,
Nothing
and
else to
instead
do.
of having conversations like this
Yes.
and actually being able to talk to each other like civil
It
and
was
be able to
over the
get our
phones.
2 cents out,
Yeah.
it's always just like very aggressive and very
Yeah.
pointed tone when
Yeah.
they're going at it on social
Of
media.
course.
Like,
Horrible.
for
Yeah.
what reason? How does
Exactly.
we don't
'Cause people
accomplish
get bold.
anything?
They
Absolutely.
really
People
do
get
behind the
bold
screen. They
Because
get
we're
real
behind the
Yeah.
screen. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a very common pet peeve of mine, and that I've talked about a lot.
Mhm.
It is what you just said, which is that and that's why I related it to the lockdowns, because when it's hard enough for people that don't agree on something
Yeah,
to
to
have a conversation in person, but it's almost impossible online for two big reasons. Like you said, Zaria, that people get bold behind the screen, but that's only part of it, I think. I think part of it is also that people, like let's say on, even if it's Facebook or Twitter, where there's X number of characters that you can get out, people feel a lot of pressure to pack a lot of punch into
That's
every
very true.
little thing that they send. And so it doesn't allow for the things that real conversations allow for, like saying things like with a tone of voice that implies
Yes.
a little bit of
Empathy.
like, I think
Yeah.
I when I see it this way, but I think I could understand how you
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Or even just
Like
body
you-
language.
Right,
Yeah.
you can't get any of that.
Things
call
get
it,
lost in translation
Yeah.
really
Yes.
easily.
right, I call it low resolution conversation,
Yeah.
which is what we get on. It's like having Minecraft conversations
Absolutely.
where you don't get to see the whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
And so I think that there's, for example, since you brought that up, I've already, listeners to my show have already heard this story, but I'll share it with you guys. I tell my own personal example of just even the expression, when I first heard the expression Black Lives Matter in 2017. Because my philosophy is I'm a universal humanist, and I believe that we're all human first, and that's what matters. So my
Yeah.
first reaction, I heard that phrase, and I went, "Oh, hold on, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
I think all lives matter." I was
Yes.
smart enough to not blast it on Facebook.
Yes.
Instead, what I did was
Looked it up.
I tried to find some people talking about what it meant to them, and I heard people explain different things about it, and then I came to understand what it meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was able to do that by seeking out higher resolution conversations than just. For me, it's podcasts and other books, like reading stuff. But for some people, it's personal conversation.
Yeah.
And during lockdown, we couldn't do that.
No.
Like that was not available to anyone. So all we had were these low resolution conversations where there's just not enough bandwidth in the conversation for Eghosa to explain why some troll on the internet hurt her feelings and back and forth, and
Yeah.
nor do we feel like there's even any hope in doing that when we're
Yeah,
talking
Yeah.
to people.
no, that's what I got to a point where I was like, why do I waste my
Exactly.
breath?
Right.
Yes, that's why I
I straight up
deleted
told
it.
one kid, I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and
I'm
like,
tired.
entertain.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it
gonna argue.
entertains, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like I just straight up told him, it's like just like talking to a brick
I was
wall.
like, it's
I'm
not
done.
my, go read
You're
a
not,
book.
I'm not gonna
Yes.
change your mind.
I'm like,
Just
I-
educate
go use
yourself.
the internet.
It's the fact that like we're not trying to be rude. We're not trying to look at someone and say you are absolutely wrong. It's the fact that uneducated people want to have a conversation about things that they don't know what they're talking about.
I can't tell you.
And
So,
like
I
it's
can't
out
tell
there.
you.
You can easily
Yes,
go
you
find
can-
it, but they
not
choose
only
not
That's
to.
what I
not only
had
can
to
you look
do.
up like what he's saying, conversations with people who know what they're talking
Yeah.
about, but there's research everywhere on it.
Exactly.
It's been out there for a while now,
Right.
so you can definitely.
There are
That's
these
what I had
people
to
that
do too.
can
Yeah.
explain it.
Absolutely.
on the internet.
Like
Yes.
ask.
You know what I'm
Just
saying?
literally
Because
just
not
ask.
everybody, because people have a knack for that.
Yeah.
Explaining things in writing.
Yes.
They probably couldn't explain talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
People have a knack for that.
True.
You're gonna find them on the internet.
Absolutely.
So many people would ask me all these questions. What should I? How do you think I should? And I'm like, I'm not the expert.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm black doesn't mean
Yeah.
I am the
Yeah,
expert
yeah,
on
yeah.
all. You know what I'm saying?
And it's
Yeah.
so
Like
frustrating
that's
too.
not.
So frustrating.
I'm just a person, you know.
Yeah.
So
You
there's
find
actual
information the
experts
same
out
way
there
that I do.
who are asking me.
Absolutely.
Literally, it's like
We're all
I
in
don't
the
know.
same
It's like
boat.
condescending in some way. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Not condescending, but it's like why do you make that assumption?
Yeah, and I think it's also because we sit here and we're kind of like, so what should we do? How can we help it? How do we do this? And you guys are like, well, if we knew that, then it wouldn't be a problem.
exactly.
So,
Right.
you know, like I can't sit here and tell you, you know, to do this, do that.
Right.
We all are gonna have to work together to find something to do. That's where we're trying to get to. We're not just gonna tell you what to do and you do
and
it.
you do it exactly.
So, would you? Because I actually, my stress level also kind of cranked up right around that time.
Yeah.
And
It seemed like the world was gonna end.
well,
Yeah,
I
seriously.
think that's what it was. I think it was us having been locked in our houses for 6 weeks, whatever it was at that point, 8, 9 weeks, I guess. And the combination of that stress, followed by opening your phone, turning on the TV, and seeing
Police stations burning,
Yep.
like literally.
the country burning down. Even
Yeah.
though, of course, a rational person would remind themselves that those are images broadcast over the whole country that represents a very small
Yeah.
percentage of the country, and I really work hard to remind myself of that when I
Yeah,
see
it's
stuff.
hard though.
It's
Me
so
too.
It's hard because
It's really hard.
yeah, psychologists call that the availability heuristic, which is that the things you see the most start to creep into your mind as being the most important.
Right.
So even if they're not very important, or even if they are very important, it's not a very good predictor
Yeah.
of how important it is just because you see it. And so, of course, when I say important, I mean statistically important. Like, does what was happening in Minneapolis represent?
It's also happening everywhere.
Everywhere
Yeah.
else with every other
And if
person.
but since we hadn't left our house in 9 weeks, it's really easy to imagine that in that scenario, if we left our house, we might find like a mob of people. or
Yeah, yeah,
you
the
know,
world will be ending.
right.
It will be
And
bird box
they're
if
going to
you
march
walk
down
outside.
the street. Right. They're going to come down our street, and there's going to be guns, and there's going to be
Yes.
masks, and there's,
Yes.
and so I think that had everybody up in very high stress levels, and that translates into bad social media conversations and all of that.
And bad mental health.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yes, and yes,
Bro,
and
the
that,
worst
and
week of my life.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
not fun.
it was pretty rough. So to kind of change gears, we can come back to that too if it comes up. So
Okay.
don't worry about it. But let's talk about choir specifically for a little bit. And first, and let's think of it this way first. Right now, of course, choirs pretty much all over the world have stopped singing. And part of that is because when we sing, we make a lot of aerosols and droplets when we sing, and so it's not one of the safer things you can do.
Yeah.
However, we've been working really hard, and in the profession, we've been commissioned this big study that just came out where it shows pretty encouraging things as far as how we could put a choir back together and use certain distancing rules and certain types of masks and other types of things and have it be
Possible.
not any more dangerous than anything else
Yeah.
at this point. And so, but the way I'd like to have you guys think back to your senior year is a couple things. What the loss of choir and that group connection and group music making was like for you. And then also thinking about the potential of, like if you were to speak to kids that are younger than you coming up, thinking about how important that was for you, and what it might be like for kids in the next year if we can't get it back. Just kind of some deep thoughts.
I will say that choir obviously has always held a very special place in my heart, just because it's something that you have to be like truly vulnerable to have, to do well, especially because connecting to the music in that specific way. And that was really difficult for me to let go of, because that's one of the big reasons why I do choir, and when we went into lockdown, Mr. Munz knows, I had multiple mental breakdowns just about the sight reading.
Girl,
It wasn't even the fact that we were, not being able to sing anymore. It was that I realized that I had relied so much not only on other people around me, but on like you being there to teach me to do this, to be better at this. Hello, Kat. And so when I didn't have that, I realized that I felt so lost, and I felt like I was way worse than I had ever been. And I didn't know where to go from there, because this is what I wanted to do with my life, you know? Like, this is what I was going to go to school for. And I was like, if I can't do this on my own, then why am I doing this? It was a very big, you know, questioning what I'm doing, the information that I've been given. And so I think that, like, my big thing is I learned from it. I definitely did. It showed me that I need to stop relying on other people around me to do what I want to do well. You know, so if I could tell anyone younger than me, I'd be like, it's gonna stink if you can't have this connection, because it's one of the best things you'll ever find. Like, and I was just an alternate for Allstate, but when I was there, like, singing around people and getting to see the way, I don't know, that just being in a choir, and same with sounds, being in a choir where everyone is there because they love to do the same thing as you, and they're passionate about the same thing, is so different than being in, you know, your middle school choir class that you have to pick between art or music. It's so different, and it's one of the best feelings you'll ever find. Just, and like, it always makes me think of Choir in the Dark, when the power kept going out at our school. And we kept singing because we were like, wow, this is a really cool opportunity to do something, you know, amazing. And we got to sit in the dark and just, like, I sobbed when we sang. Absolutely.
For me, I don't know, choir, like, I've tried a lot of things, a lot of extracurriculars, and choir is really, like, my thing, the thing that I love to do. And, like, it really, I always say it, like, really became my home. And just, like, as soon as I ended, I was like, oh, what now? And, like, it became my outlet too. Like, anytime I was having a bad day, come to choir and literally just let everything loose. Like, everybody in sounds, even concert choir, has seen me cry more times than I can count.
Me too.
Like, at that point, like, I used to hate crying in front of people, but at that point, with those people, I just did not care. It was the place where I could actually be myself.
Comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And for younger kids, I know, like you said, it's going to be hard not actually having those connections with people, but I hope to God you can come back and everything, and, like, get those connections, even though you're going to be spaced out and everything. But, like, I don't know. That was really tough. And then same with you, the sight reading. Oh Lord! I think the first time I definitely had a couple panic attacks because of it. There was some tears. It took me over 100 attempts.
In the beginning, before he was like, "Okay, please stop doing that." I was doing it a million times before I'd be like, "Yeah, that's okay to submit."
It was horrible. It was so bad. But I was also thinking, it was like, how am I, like, literally going to school to teach choir, and I can't even sight read? Like, what was it, 8 measures, 16 measures, something like that? I was like, level 5, 60 measures. How am I going to college for this?
If I can't even do it.
But, like, I was thankful for it because it helped me so much. I realized it's like you said, I relied on other people a lot, and I guess I kind of realized that, but I didn't realize it, like, how much I relied on other people.
Well, I can give you some good news. When you get to college, your sight reading examples are not going to be close to that as hard as that.
Oh, good.
Nice. Perfect. But, like,
no
I don't
offense,
know.
college director friends listening.
Oh, hey! Like, I don't know, but now I start, like, if I get bored, even in the middle of the night, I'll just sight read. I don't know, it's weird. But, like, I know it helps. And I've gotten to, like, level 6. It's just small flex.
She was saying. Anyway, moving on.
I don't know.
Eghosa, loss of choir for you. What was that like?
Well, I'm not going to be a music major. Like, I'm not going to school for it.
We forgive you.
So,
Yes.
let's just say that.
Still amazing.
But loss of choir for me, logistically, I didn't have a rough transition because sight reading and stuff like that has always been my strong suit anyway. So logistically, it wasn't
So you're
that
talking about
drastic.
the transition to the online curriculum.
Yeah, to the online curriculum.
I'm talking about just losing the group activity itself. What was that like for you?
Well, definitely, I wish I didn't take for granted the days where I could make eye contact with people as we were singing, because music holds so many memories for me. Like that's kind of how I organize like my life. Is by like kind of
I understand.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
makes
music holds so many memories for me. Like OCUC paints an entire picture of a time at my a time of high school.
Yes.
So not being able to be around that 100 something other
Concert
kids,
choir.
concert choir, and make new memories like that every day, like adding into that kind of big culmination picture senior year of high school it was so saddening. Like even during sight reading, like man, I would be making faces right now, or you know what I'm saying, looking across the choir,
I'd be hand
you
signing.
know,
I want to go home. Like signing to people across the choir.
I don't know, and just something about singing with other people is just so much more fulfilling than just doing it alone.
I think it's also because we were all super busy. Like, and I mean, we're all very good at keeping our minds off of other things by filling it with activities and other hobbies that you do. So whenever, like, it's so weird to think where my priorities were before, they all got taken away from me, because I would sit there and I'd be like, sorry, I can't do that, I have dance. Sorry, I can't do that, I have choir, I have theater, I have, whatever it is. And then suddenly it's like, you can't do any of the things that you seem to prioritize in the past, and you're like, wow, those things I guess weren't as important as I thought they were, and I used all of my energy and all of my time and all of my mental capacity towards all of those things, and that's like, for what, Like at the end of it, I was left with all the things that I had before I did those. So I'm not saying don't be involved, but at the same time, it was really weird to see that the things that I thought were most important kind of weren't.
For me, it was kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Like once I stopped, because being busy, especially with the academic stuff.
Yeah, you did all the
I
IB
was
stuff.
just, like when spring break came, they said we're going to have an extra week. I said, thank you,
Yeah,
Lord.
me
I said,
too.
thank
Me
you,
too.
God, because I need to
I need
recover.
absolutely.
Like I was running myself dry. Like
Me
I'm
too.
talking library until closing every night after practice, because I had so much homework.
That's literally me.
So it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
so
we
I
have,
was
like,
like, please make it
all of
stop,
those
please make it
tasks.
stop, please make it stop. I just want to take a break. And then
If you just stop.
I I'm so bad about taking things for granted that
Me
now
too.
they're gone, and it's like I would give anything to have had just a couple more weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like
well, and because that last week before we left, I, for one thing, pretty sure I had COVID. I was dying. Like, and they were like, maybe it's bronchitis, we don't really know. And so then I ended up, like, I was going to school that week. I had an IB English oral exam, so I was waking up at 4:30 every morning, and I was going to Starbucks and studying until I went to STA, which meant I was working in a hospital, and I would do allied health stuff, and then I'd come to school, and then we'd have the play after school, and then I would get home at around 11 and start my homework. And then I would eat dinner around 11, and then I'm waking up at 4:30 the next morning. So when they were like, you're going to have 2 weeks, I was like, thank the Lord.
literally,
I was like, I need this more than I've ever needed
godsend.
anything.
Yeah,
and
in
then
my
I was
life.
like, I shouldn't have. Once again, that did not age well. I did not need to say that, because I really wish I could take that back.
Yeah. See, with choir, I felt like, actually, it's kind of connected, I think, to what we were talking about earlier with bad online conversations. I have, I think, very well-meaning colleagues that, once the lockdown started, and even into the next year with a lot of schools going online, have said, well, why don't we just, get as creative as we possibly can and do online choir better? And which is, I understand that, if that's all you're allowed to do, then as a teacher and as choir members or whatever, you want to keep the group together in whatever way you can.
Yeah.
So you do all these interesting and unique online things, but it's kind of like, I see the analogy of, like, you can do some music stuff in online type settings, and we could, like, had I known last year that we were going to be gone all year, I probably would have kind of forced us to do some kind of a virtual choir thing, but I didn't know until it was kind of too late. But even then, that's not why kids are there.
Yeah.
Like and my thought was at the time that the upper level kids like you guys could have done a virtual choir assignment where I send out a piece of sheet music and say, by this date, record your part into this, and I'll mix it together.
We did that for
right.
for church choirs
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Right. My concern was freshmen can't.
No.
Yeah.
Like they're just still figuring out how to do everything by March, and so that's tricky. And then, but ultimately, in fact, this is one of my bigger worries for next year. If we start online, is you think about the way a high school choir program operates.
That
You guys
choir
come
culture.
you come in 9th grade super scared. And a lot of what gets kids to buy into the culture and to feel like they're part of the family is that they went through that scared time together.
Yeah.
They came through it. They realized that they conquered their fear and can actually sing in front of people and can actually sight read and they can actually jump into an ensemble and make music and not and contribute. And so I'm worried that at least my fear is that if I don't get a chance to in person, because of all those things we talked about with the body language and the eye contact and I won't be able to convince the freshmen that they can, because their only experience with choir would be that online, impersonal, like that they've ever had. And I think about the difference between kids who already understand what choir is, having to go through that for a period. We can kind of get through that.
Because you're like, I'm doing it so that I can get back to this feeling.
Yeah.
But
with
if
them, they
kids
don't
have
know
never
it.
experienced it before, the reason I feel like that enthusiasm for online stuff is kind of naive is because I think those kids are just going to quit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like they'll quit immediately.
Absolutely.
Like as soon as they can get out of that class, because you'd rather put your energy into something like a subject matter that translates well to online learning, where you just fill out a worksheet and send it back in.
Yeah.
And I think about like a kid I've never met before, but I'm going to send an assignment to ask them to record their voice and send it to me.
Yeah.
And you're 14 and you're in puberty and you're like,
Good luck with that.
yeah, it's hard enough in person.
Right.
Um,
I seriously
Literally.
empathize with like the teachers. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I've watched, even just last semester, I watched my mom trying to, because she's a theater teacher, so she's trying to figure out things that she can have them do online, and same with you guys, like trying to somehow fit all of these things that you would be having in interpersonal like relationships with these
the nuances
kids.
that come with actual
actually
experience.
being
No,
in
we're not
class.
there anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine trying to figure out how that's gonna
Yep.
work.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the experiences with how many hundreds of kids in the practice room, one-on-one during their first time trying to sight read.
Yeah.
And how many times I've helped them through the tears
Oh, yeah.
that then
Ask me next time.
Yep,
Been
there you go. Yep. But then that eventually that kid, because I was there to help them through the tears, they eventually can do it on their own.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about that. So we're trying to get creative, of course, with what types of assignments we could give to freshmen right off the out of the gate. But ultimately, the reason that we're in a choir class is because of the connection. So like that high resolution conversation. You think about how much of choir, how much of the experience is actually talking as a group.
Yeah.
And letting people raise their hand, rapid fire, not waiting for someone on Schoology to put their comment in, and then
Yes,
three
and
then
then
respond
I
to
get
it.
that.
days
Also,
later, and
how there's so I couldn't find any ways to say I agree. Like different ways.
There's
Like,
only so
I
many
agree.
things that you can say. Yes.
I
It's
concur.
like, yes,
I think so
Like-
too. I agree with your statement.
I think so too.
You are very smart.
I
that
also
was a
think this
good
with
thing.
my brain.
And then my brain thinks the same as yours. Cute. We should be buddies.
That's
Text
right.
me at.
Yeah, and
Email
that's,
me on my school
Yes.
account.
yeah, and I do think that there are some really interesting and unique technologies out there, and that especially have been designed during the pandemic. I can't wrap my mind around anybody thinking that it could replace or even 10% replace what we do in a choir class, especially, like I said before, if this has been your only experience.
Yeah,
Like if
that-
you've never
I didn't even
You've
think
never
about
done it
that.
Well, yeah.
Scary.
And like I'm thinking about our young kids that were at the high school last year. So the 9th and 10th graders that, they experienced choir, but they didn't get to experience any of the end of the year stuff.
Bro,
we have like a
literally,
choir.
like,
that's such a major key.
So they don't
So
have.
the same words. No, yeah.
So we'll get a group of 10th graders next year who still will not will
half
basically be
understand it.
freshmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they haven't experienced any of those culminating
so
events.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So the whole, the kids are behind in, and this is going to, we could sit here and talk about any subject matter in a school,
Yeah.
and it's going to be true.
Yes.
Choir, of course, is unique because it relies on that group commitment and that group
Yeah.
feeling.
And even on top of that, like with the technology portion, it's not like we all have loads of money to go out and buy.
Exactly.
And I know that, like with my virtual stuff, they're
Mhm.
like, here's all of the things that you have to get so that way you can work efficiently with us. And so they're having to loan us out stuff, and we're having to go buy cords and microphones and keyboards, because how do you do a music 101 if you don't have a keyboard?
Right.
They're like, print out a piece of paper of keys, and then we'll just pretend we know what you're playing.
Yeah.
Look really pretty while you do it.
Yeah,
Like,
mine
I
too.
don't. It's so difficult, to try to get all of this figured out. And I know you have a question about this later, but I know for a fact that we're already confused, going in the same way that the freshmen will be coming into high school. We're going to college with no idea what we're doing. And plus, on top of that, our teachers have no idea what they're doing because there's no information out about anything.
Yeah.
And so we're like, are we confused because we're freshmen, or are we confused because nobody
There's
knows
nobody
what's
knows
happening?
what's happening, exactly.
Like, I feel so lost going into all of this
Yeah, I
college
know
stuff, and I feel
what I'm doing.
behind. And of course, because everything's coming out in emails, I'm like, did I miss an email? Like, is everyone else knowing what's happening,
Right.
and I'm just the only one that seems to be falling behind? And it's so confusing all of the time.
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of lucky that the majority of my classes are in person.
Yeah.
Still don't understand how it's going to work and everything. But my piano class is supposed to be online. Like,
It's gonna be like
How?
an app on your phone.
Just
It's
how?
like the
I mean,
Seal piano.
just how? I don't understand how that will work. My first day of class is the 17th. Still haven't got any
Yeah,
information
me too.
about what's that.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's
Oh,
my
it's on your
God, no,
pillow.
it's on the pillow. Ew, don't put it this way.
Podcasting outdoors in the wildlife. It's not a stinger. It's just a beetle. It's just
I don't care. I don't
do
mess
that.
with bugs. Anyways, what are we talking about?
So your classes that are going to be mostly in person, but you're not sure how they're all going to work.
Yeah, I women's chorus, so there's gonna be a booty load. I probably should have said that on the phone. It's gonna be
a lot of
There's gonna be a lot of us in one room. We're gonna have to social distance and everything. I'm just like, I don't know.
I can always put E for explicit on the end.
See, and the other thing is though, like, it's not just choir that's having, like, Brielle, my sister is doing all these nursing classes, so she had a cadaver lab last semester. I mean, how do you do a cadaver lab online?
Yeah,
You can't
that
take pictures of
simulations.
dead bodies. You can't send those out to kids, So they're like, here's a virtual kind of realistic body. Do your
like the
best.
Docker
Like,
games we
no
played when
one's
we were
gonna want the
kids.
nurse who learns how to,
Exactly.
operate
online.
or like
no.
her only class that seems to be online right now is physiology. That's literally a class about movement. How are you doing that?
Take videos of yourself.
Exactly. Like, I just think it's so difficult to try to translate any kind of information that you would be able to have in class, onto.
Right. Yeah,
Onto
and what's
a
amazing
Chromebook.
to
Right.
me is how many people I've heard say, well, most of the school should be just online anyway. This is just going to save everybody so much money. I'm like,
No one does it.
No.
You
You
need computers,
can't-
internet access.
yeah.
That, and
about
also, I don't want
About
to.
it. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
Also-
that's selfish of me, maybe, but, like, it might save people money, but I will be miserable.
I can barely learn doing online classes.
Oh my gosh, math.
Online math,
Why was that
garbage.
so
It literally
difficult?
took me 2 hours
Yeah.
to finish math.
I would sit
online.
there
It
for
was
so long.
so bad.
And you can't ask questions as efficiently either. You can't raise your hand in the middle of your living room. You gotta email and wait
Yeah,
for the
it's so
reply,
much-
and then you're
yeah.
like, well, my paper's late because I didn't know how to do this. Sorry.
Well, I think that there's like to think that you could just as efficiently teach most things online as you could in person
It's so naive.
it's naive, and it's too you right away somebody would be giving away that they have no idea what it's like to be a teacher,
Yeah.
because what most of what learning that happens in a class, I don't care what the subject matter is,
Yeah.
most learning happens in almost infinite numbers of very quick back and forths.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe someday in our lifetime the technology would catch up to the point where we could really be that connected, where I could see all your body language, you could see my body language, I could make eye contact with you in the moment. I could, maybe it's some kind of a VR like classroom that eventually
Yeah.
will exist where we're all
You just we've got a hologram class happening
Yeah.
in the living room. You're like
Right.
everyone.
But
Turn the
without
page
that,
forward.
without that, like really unique that system of for example, I've always been saying for the last few months have been talking about one of the reasons that 17 next year will be my 18th year teaching choir. One of the reasons I've gotten good at it over the years is because in many choir rehearsal settings, I know what mistakes you guys will make before you make them.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we've cut off, I already knew what the mistakes were, and by the time I've released the choir, I've already got my next feedback.
Yeah.
And
Go again. Yeah.
And there's no delay. And what's happening in that moment in your brains is that neurons are actually forming, like actual connections between brain cells are forming, and it's rapid over and over and over. And for the same reason
Instant
that you have
growth.
for the same reason an athlete has to shoot multiple free throws over and over and over,
Mm-hmm.
because they have to feel what the last one felt like and respond, and then
Yes.
do this one again. And that's the one part about learning how to do music that you just can't do online,
Absolutely.
no matter how good the technology is right now.
Yeah.
And so we've got to figure out a way to get back to that, obviously,
Yeah.
especially for the people that need to do this for a living. But Eghosa, you mentioned, music is not your major in college,
No.
which is fine. I still forgive you. But even if for somebody who goes in, which by the way, even in the non-pandemic time, going into college without a major declared is super normal. Like that's like even in normal times that's normal. But is there a sense in your mind of just like, I know you can't compare it to other graduating classes because every graduate comes out of high school going, what's next?
Yeah.
But is there like a pandemic version of what's next in your mind? Like, what's the world going to be like?
It's kind of this sensation that it's like, hurry, 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 figure this out, you don't know what's going to change next, hurry, 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 while you still can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you
Before
can
you get lost again.
before you get lost
Yeah.
again, yeah. But then on the flip side, it's like hurry towards what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point?
For what? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I get the feelings of behindness, yeah, but also it's like, I feel like I should kind of be 2 steps ahead of the world in a sense,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be the one that's kind of stranded, like
Yes.
that doesn't know where they're going, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Almost like you've got to be 2 steps ahead because you have to be prepared for more scenarios.
yeah, more
Which
scenarios.
It's even
and more things to go wrong.
yeah, exactly. But there's also that weird lack of motivation because you're like, for what? What? Because right when I figure it out,
It's
I
like
know that
hurry
something
to
else is gonna
what?
change.
Like we don't even know what the future
Hurry
holds yet. So
to-
hurry to where?
Yeah.
Where am I hurrying to? Because I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's such a conflicting thing because I will read my emails and then just boom, anxiety, boom, boom,
Yep.
boom. But then it's like, okay, I need to figure out what I will do with myself once I get to college,
Yeah.
or you know,
Yes.
and then I'll see something else. It's like hurry, hurry, hurry.
Yeah.
Time is ticking, running
Yes.
out, running out. Every day is closer to some invisible deadline that I've created for myself where I need to know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And the pandemic has just made it that much worse because now it's that feeling multiplied on a grand scale because I feel like the pandemic and the lockdown has revealed a lot of things about our society and just like the way our society works.
What time is it?
It's 8:00.
Great.
That don't
that aren't working anymore. You know? And so I feel like there's going to be just change in government, change on the local level, change in infrastructure, and maybe I'm just imagining it, I don't know. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's going to be changes that come about that are going to kind of shake how we used to live our lives.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because I know how I see the
We're not
world
gonna
and
go
how
back.
it works has changed immensely
Yeah.
over this quarantine.
Yeah.
So while the world is changing, me and my little college freshman self have to figure out, on top of that,
Where you fit into
where
it.
I fit into
Yep.
that changing world.
Yes.
It's insane.
Crazy.
Well,
It's so stressful.
So the feeling you guys are describing is called nihilism. So nihilism is the sensation that like, what's it all for? It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. And the teen, that's one of the reasons I've been, it's been very hard for me, because I'm in support of us going back to school in person. Many of my colleagues are not. And it's not because I don't think there's a risk of coronavirus. It's just that I know that in the teen years, nihilism is usually at its highest anyway.
For sure.
And that's where suicidal ideation in teenagers comes from.
Yes.
Is the sense of whatever I do doesn't matter
Yeah.
anyway.
Yep.
It's like, what's the point anyway?
And if we layer everything Eghosa just said on top of that, I'm concerned that the kids won't be okay,
Yeah.
because that they're not gonna see any reason to do anything at a time in their life when kids already feel that way,
Yes.
even under normal circumstances.
Yes.
And it just makes it, so I feel a responsibility to be there, because I with them, because I know how many times in my teaching career I've been able to be there to help a kid.
Yes.
When
for sure.
and if I hadn't, I always think about, if I hadn't caught that situation, then something really bad could have happened, and if I hadn't been there, then they, and lots of teachers feel that way. But it's interesting, because what you were talking about, Eghosa, of the world changing. I'll just tell you a grown-up example and see, just to give you an illustration of this. Most people nowadays don't study economics anymore,
No.
which is sad.
Yep.
And I think really dangerous. But one of the things that we're seeing right now, the changes that you're seeing, that you mentioned, is nobody's working.
Yep.
Well, shouldn't say nobody. Less people are working.
Most people. Yeah.
And the government is printing way more money.
Yeah.
So what that means is there's more of a thing, but the thing that makes that thing valuable is people's working, right? But less people are doing that, and then we're getting more of the money. And so what we're going to see is inflation,
Yeah.
which means that things cost more, and the government just prints more money to pay for that,
Yeah.
into a spiral that never goes away. Now,
Yeah.
here's where, again, because my concern is for young people, that will hurt you guys more than it hurts me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And for the reason for that is, we're all sitting here on my porch. The way I explain this to people is, I already have a contract with the bank for how many dollars this house will cost me.
Yes.
No matter what the value of the dollar is tomorrow, I've already made that lock.
It's
that
going to
down.
stay
Yeah.
that amount.
And so while the dollars are worth less, this is where it really trips people out. As the dollars are worth less, I'm actually paying less for my house.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas people in the next generation comes up, and it becomes then harder for them to get something like I have.
Yeah.
And of course, we like to blame that on,
They didn't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Well, you worked harder.
Yeah.
Save your money better.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But and
Irresponsible.
on the flip side, we also like to blame it on capitalism, which ultimately it's neither of those things.
Yeah.
It's a lack of understanding of how money works, and what types of policies lead to money being worth something. I've even seen, it's funny, I've even still seen on Facebook recently people saying, "Where's the government getting this money? Surely we don't have enough gold for that." And I'm like, sis, we stopped backing the U.S. dollar with gold in 1933.
Surely we don't have. No, we don't.
No, we don't
You're not wrong.
any
Definitely
gold.
do not. You're not wrong. We have none of
Our
that.
money only has value when we trade it.
Yes. Yes.
That's it. And if we stop trading it, it's not
It
worth
doesn't.
anything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
That's the thing.
And so I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I'm also thinking, there's also a little bit of optimism in me still, to where a lot of these changes that we're seeing, there's always the chance that leads to something better.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what's also kind of not I'm not super down in the dumps about it, because it's like,
the world is changing to be better?
Yeah,
Question mark.
question mark.
It could.
And
Yeah.
like, and I think it's also kind of a little, not just up to us specifically, but I think it's up to everyone to have a positive outlook on it so that it can go that way. Because if we're all looking to the future and we're like, well, it's going to suck, then
True.
yes,
Yeah,
it
of
is.
course
It
it
is
is.
going to suck. If you sit there and make it into some negative thing, it probably will become negative. But if we sit here and we're like, okay, well, the world has, not been looking great, but we can push it towards this way. We can go this direction, and it can help. Hopefully, then let's all do that.
Right.
If that's a possibility.
Yeah, so thinking about then college for all of you, there's of course, like Eghosa said, there's the hustle that it takes to get ready for college. You gotta get ready for a bunch of things, but then you're also preparing for more scenarios. Is it going to be some online college? Is it going to be in-person college? If I'm online, it's still going to cost X.
Oh.
And so has the
And scholarships have been getting cut as well.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my next question: are any of you dealing with like the real existential crisis of like, is it worth going and paying for it at all?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I will say, like, for sure, because the school I'm going to is not cheap. So
And
when
you can't even be
and I
there.
can't be there. I mean, it's a closed campus, so I mean, I was like, I don't know what am I gonna do? Like, why am I
know a
still
lot of
going?
people
And the
are
only
taking a
reason
gap year.
I was no, and I was going to go to Longview for a year, but the problem is I have to re-audition for my scholarship, which is the only reason that I can go in the first place.
Yeah.
And I have to go through that whole period all over again. And I like thought about it, and I talked to my parents about it a lot, and I was like, I don't think I can do that again. Like, all of the things that because I had something to look forward to when I was doing it. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a freshman. I'm going to get to, for one thing, leave. I've been wanting to leave for a while now, and I'll finally get to do that. And then I don't get to, and so it was very, very difficult for me to try to make the decision of, am I just going to stay here and like work and try to get some kind of money so that way whenever I can go, I can go there in good standing and have some kind of funds to actually go or not. But I did end up, I'm going there virtually, but mostly just because I didn't want to have to re-audition for my scholarship.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else having that?
Yeah, for me, I think it started around spring break because I was going to visit Oakwood and like audition and everything, and then couldn't do that because my mom wasn't comfortable flying, and they decided to cancel all campus visits. And then we were like, okay, that's fine. I'll just go to Missouri State because I applied to both and got accepted to both. And then after Missouri State, with like everything going on, I was thinking, okay, but like, what if my classes aren't even online? I've already seen that like my voice lessons online was like, that was a struggle.
Yeah.
Sight reading was a struggle.
Yeah.
Like everything that's choir related online was a struggle, sort of, kind of. It's like, will there even be a point of me going to Missouri State for this degree? And I'll be doing all online classes, which wouldn't even like help me really that much. I was thinking, like, I would see like what it was like first, and if I had those classes, and if they weren't online, I was going to go to Longview too because I have A+ money.
Yeah.
But luckily, my classes are in person. Hopefully they stay that way. If not, I don't know what I'll do. I haven't thought that far ahead, but like, yeah, for a good, I guess the majority of quarantine, that's what we have been, me and my parents have been thinking about too.
Right. You been tossing that around too?
Yeah, it's the kind of, why am I even bothering, is warring also with the fear of missing out or the fear of making the situation even harder for myself if I were to take a gap year.
Right.
So it just feels like I'm in a no-win situation. So for me, it's might as well go and stick to what you know than take your gap year, which could be fun, but then at the end of it, when you're trying to get back into school, it's harder than it was just once you're out of high school.
Yes.
Right. And that's kind of what I was trying to put myself in you guys' position when I was thinking about this the other day. Like, if I knew right now that whatever weird stuff is going to happen just for this first semester, well, then I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I
But
can-
we don't know how long
Exactly.
it's gonna
But
last.
that was
Don't.
supposed to be 2 weeks too.
Right.
That
Right,
quarantine,
yeah.
they're like, you'll be back in 2
Right.
weeks.
But then you're thinking, well, once I've gotten through December and I did some weird semester that was half online and half whatever,
Yeah, a nice hybrid.
then I'm a semester deep into it, and I
Yes.
can't stop now.
Yeah.
I got to finish, and then you kind of get hooked.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I just don't envy that position. But at the same time, I understand where my colleagues who teach at the college level are. They're doing just like what I'm doing. They're trying their butts off to try to figure out something to be valuable for you.
Yes.
And but at the same time, it's your life. Like I understand that tension. And I do know there's a lot of kids doing a gap year, which. I think for music kids it's also a little bit different because those performance scholarships are so integral in it, and so it's a little bit different. But so let's do one more round of thoughts before we sign off. So, Eghosa, I'm going to start with you again because I know. First of all, I know at Mizzou they would literally jump over themselves to get you to sing in the choir. So let's just be hypothetical. Because it will happen. It will happen that Dr. Boyd will come find you.
I love him.
He will
He's
physically.
wonderful.
He will physically
Love him so
come find
much.
you.
Yeah.
And so let's say you were to get so the question that way. The question can be for everyone.
Okay.
You get to sing again at some point. What's that like for
Like
you?
normal?
Yes, like
Okay,
normal.
yeah.
Like normal. And in what ways would you potentially bring an appreciation to it that you wouldn't have been mature enough to have based on life experience back in March?
100% be there in the moment as much as I possibly can, because again, I'm bad at taking things for granted, like, oh, this will always be here, so it's fine. But now it isn't. So to be able to sing in that environment again, I would cherish the people around me 100%, even people that I don't necessarily like. We're not the best of friends, but like, I'm glad that I get to make music here with you, with this combination of people, so we can produce this sound, so I can improve myself and feel like I'm contributing and helping a team grow, like that sense of connection when you're all trying to improve yourselves for one group goal is so satisfying, and the payoff is so rewarding. Just really enjoy it, because there's not a lot of places you can get that kind of what's the word, catharsis, I guess.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
there it is.
What about you, Zaria?
Yeah, mine be just to be present. Because I know, there's a lot of times where I was everywhere.
And everyone has off days. Like,
yeah,
those are
they
gonna
do.
happen.
But I had quite a few off days. Whoops. But yeah, mine be present, in the moment, and like I said, not take everything for granted. And I'm super excited to get back because I really need to be back in singing again in the choir. Need that connection.
I would like to say that I wouldn't take it for granted. Like, I would sit there and, tell myself not to, but, I feel like I've done that before in the past, with other situations where once it becomes normal again, it's really difficult to just sit there and be like, I'm super grateful for this,
there's gonna be a point where this
where this was in the past, and you're just like, wow, that was a weird fever dream, moving on. So I would like to say that I wouldn't, but I feel like things that I can control would be actually learning. I think I have a tendency to just kind of ride on, I'll get better through my voice lessons, and my voice will be really pretty, but I won't actually understand anything that I'm doing.
Ooh, yeah.
So I didn't learn notes until last year. I've been in choir, I've been singing, I played the tuba before this, and I taught myself how to play, so I never sat down and really tried to become knowledgeable about the subject. It was more just, sometimes I sound good, so I should do this. And so I did, and so when I got to senior year, I realized that I didn't know anything. All the things that I thought that I had a full grasp, on, I didn't. So I think that if I can be back in there and back in a situation where I'm learning things, I would make a point to actually learn them and actually, I mean,
treat it
listen.
treat it like a scholar.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, and not
approach
just
it-
this is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think that's good. You're right, though. I
That's
definitely.
it. The scholar part. That's what I'm. Yep. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
You know, and I think that's one of the things that attracted me early on when I was you guys' age to choral music but when I was your age, I didn't know I was going to do this for a living. But I knew I loved being in choir, and I really enjoyed doing it.
Because it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, but the thing that I was attracted to about it was that it can be a very scholarly environment where you're studying more than just the music.
And it's a different kind of scholarly study. It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
Like, it's different, and it's so stimulating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to, yes, make music, and it's fun, and there's cool sounds and noises and stuff, and your voice gets to be pretty, and people like that. But there's also then the times where you pause and you talk about what you just did, and you analyze the poetry,
Absolutely.
and learn the science of it. And it's like lots of subjects all wrapped in one.
Yeah.
And so, for me, when we get to finally come back, I can say I agree with you, Avery, that there will probably be a point where we've forgotten about this, but at the same time, we've also never gone through this before. Like,
That's
even
true.
in my
Nothing
lifetime,
of this
you guys are
magnitude,
half my age, and I've never been through anything like this. I remember the pre 9/11 world,
Yeah.
but this is nothing compared to that. Wait, backwards.
Well,
That was nothing compared to this.
Yeah.
Is what I meant to say. And so, like I remember, at 9/11, there was this moment where the world changed. Like, and everybody saw it in our whole routines. Like, I remember being able to walk my grandma onto the airplane and just say, bye, Grandma, and then walk off.
Walk off.
No security.
And people going
You know.
into, like, the cockpit of the plane. Like,
Right.
I can't imagine that ever happening, because I wasn't alive for that.
Right.
Yeah.
But this will change so many more things.
Yeah.
And so the one reason I hold out hope that we could return to choir and singing with an appreciation that does last a little bit longer is because we'll have a collective memory in your generation all the way through mine, where not only did we lose this for a while, but it was taken away.
Yeah.
Like, this was actually
wasn't a
taken
choice.
away from us
Yeah.
by law
Yes.
and by nature.
Yes.
For X number of months, and now we can finally do it again.
Yeah.
And getting a chance to ask ourselves what it really means, why we're there, and that's kind of my goal. And that's of course what I'm hoping to. And I really appreciate all of you guys' thoughts, and this was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recording or no recording, it's nice to see everybody.
Let's do it again.
Talk about it. Yeah, totally. That's fun.
We should make this a special on your podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you as always for sticking around to the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed that different format and could tolerate the sound quality problems. I know that air conditioning unit was driving me crazy because I was feeling for you every time that kicked on during that conversation. As choir people, we're also sound sensitive. As soon as it would kick on, my anxiety level would crank up just a notch. But I hope that you were able to get some type of enjoyment out of hearing the perspective of these young people who, of course, mean a lot to me personally. But as I said in the lead into the episode, placing in your mind these ladies and their perspective and extrapolating that onto the students and the young people that you work with, I'm sure you can see tons of parallels to what they must be going through at this time. And my feeling of kind of worry for their generation and for their futures is probably something that you all share. And I know that what we want to do is to try to work together as much as possible to, as we said during that conversation, that our optimism is around whether or not we can create something better. And the conversations that are driving on this show, that has been my goal since the very beginning, is to try to create something better. We can talk better. We can have these conversations better. It just takes time, and it takes compassion, and it takes listening, and it takes responding in good faith. And that is these kids see that. They see the destructive power of social media conversations. And so continuing this mission on the Choralosophy podcast, I want to keep bringing you more and more conversations. That's what podcasts are all about. So thank you so much. The way you can help do that is you can like, you can share, you can spread these episodes around. Always go back in your feed and find the ones that you missed, or find episodes that were your favorite and share those. They don't have to be current. Those are big helpful things. Leave a rating in your podcast app. Leave some kind of review. You can do that. The most easy and most visible places to leave a review is if you're an Apple Podcasts person, to leave an Apple Podcast review right in the app. You can also do that on my Facebook page. So if you go and like Choralosophy Podcast on Facebook, you can then leave a review that it just helps people find the show. You'd be surprised. If you already see my content, you probably think everyone else does. But the way that works is that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they would really love it if I would pay them more so that other people could see it. The way you help me defeat Al Gore and his rhythms, that was a dad joke for algorithm, by the way. We defeat Al Gore and his rhythms by you sharing as much as possible and interacting with the show as much as possible, dropping a comment, dropping a like or a love or whatever. These are all actually quite nerdy technical ways to beat the algorithm so that the Choralosophy podcast doesn't have to spend as much dang money getting the shows to be in your visible feed. So those are wonderful ways to help. Of course, also hitting up the sponsors, mymusicfolders.com, sightreadingfactory.com, ryanmain.com, graphitepublishing.com, and vocevista.com/choralosophy. All of those websites have great products that you could be using in your classroom and have a coupon code Choralosophy at checkout to get yourself some budgetary savings as you grab those great products. And then, of course, last but not least, head over, if you feel led, to the Patreon at patreon.com/Choralosophy. And the most important thing of all is to keep yourself involved in the conversation. Reach out, leave comments, do whatever it is. And I love to get back to you and create episodes based on your responses. That's what it's all about. Thanks a lot for listening. Tune in next time.